Sports Network chatathon is what we'll call this. It's not going to be that long. We've got Gabby in here as usual, and we've also got Mick Crossland. We've just come off the back of something that was absolutely awesome. But Gav, Mick, I'll let you guys tell everybody a little bit more about it.
Hi guys. What we've just witnessed. I can't wait for August the 15th. We've had Mick Crossland in, the main man. He's just done the final face-off between Qasim and Liam, and to say it was intense was an understatement. Seeing both of their reactions was unbelievable. Mick, thank you for coming on, and thank you for being part of the show. How did you find that?
Mate, I'm excited for this anyway. You guys have done a phenomenal job in promoting it and just pulling it together at this time in the world, getting the best two fighters on the planet. What a way for kickboxing to come back out of lockdown. I'm absolutely buzzing as it is. But having just chatted to the boys now and listen where their heads are at on this upcoming fight, my days, this is no normal fight. This is like next level stuff. Like, the boys are so fired up. I'm so excited.
I can't see neither of them wanting to let the other one have the last say, let alone who's going to win the fucking fight.
Mate, they're very competitive, and do you know what? There's a bit of needle there. It's like both.
Yeah, there was.
They talk so much about the heart and what they're willing to fight through, what they're going to give up. Fighters are a special breed, and like, some people can be elite for a year or two, some people can be elite for decades, but it's a special kind of mindset. And it's when you're in that place where you don't care if it hurts your mind, if it hurts your body, you're going to go through it to get the outcome that you want, and nothing else matters. And the thing that shone through in every part of that interview that we just did is these guys want it bad. It's life or death for these guys, and they're going to be giving everything on the night. It's the intensity between them both. It's real. When I'm waiting, what I'm most excited about, for me, the best part of a fight is the little bit where everyone just gets out of the ring when the MC's done his introductions and the crowd just goes a little bit quieter and you've got that tension in the air. Mate, I could feel it today on the interview. So what's it going to be like in the arena? It's crazy.
It's going to be unbelievable.
I was watching that and I was like this. I didn't want to. I didn't want to look away. I honestly think that's how the fight's going to pan out. Like you said about how they both kept going back about heart. Like Liam says, you're going to have to knock me out cold to beat me. There's no way you hit harder than me. And Kaz, I broke my hand in the first round and still gone through. You don't bring nothing out. It's like, wow, these two are really willing to put it all on the line. And
I like the way they were being, like you said, Mick, there was some needle in there, some very sharp needle, getting to the point where it was, needed to simmer down a little bit. But there was still that respect that was there, or at least they were trying. They were trying. But you could see it in their eyeballs.
I believe that they both respect each other, and I do think it's shown. And I don't care what either of them say. This is the hardest fight either of them have had, and that's why they're both putting the work in. What do you think, Mick? I don't think there's been a more important fight for either.
No, I think that kind of does it. Like Kaz had said, I've faced his style so many times, but I do think Liam's an enigmatic talent. Like, he's ridiculously good. He can be unorthodox, but he's got good, solid fundamentals as well. I do think he presents a problem to Kaz, and I think the added pressure on Kaz of it being his 50th fight, he wants that 50-0 bad. It's the last belt and name on the list that he needs to be recognised as undisputed. I think this is massive for Kaz, and listen, you've got to make Kaz the favourite. You've just got to look at his history to know. But beating Liam on that night is going to be no mean feat. No less because Liam wants it so bad. He's so motivated. He's hungry. And I think that's the thing about this. Like, we see fights so many times that the timing is always stacked in someone's favour. So when you get two elite guys together, usually it's on one person's home show, the other guy didn't get as much notice, or it's at the tail end of someone's career. These guys are both at a point where they're right now, each of them at the peak of their powers to this point. They're hungry. They want it. It's relatively neutral ground, even though It's Qasim. It's local for Qasim. It's not his home show. Both guys have headlined that show before. They know they're going to be treated well and fairly. You cannot create a matchup where you've got such a level playing field across the board. And any way you look at this, it's going to be unreal on the night.
Mick, do you think that with what's happened with COVID, there's been no fights at all, and for the fights that have happened, there's been no audiences? But do you think that there's the danger that with the atmosphere that there's probably going to be in there, that maybe the fighters kind of come out at it a little bit too hot, and that's where maybe the mistakes could come? Because when the boxing kind of opened all back up, there was a few big upsets early on, wasn't there? Because of fighters were just coming at it. There was it was almost like they were so excited just to be back in a ring. But then it was lights out.
I think it's a consideration. I know, like, I've got my first fights after the lockdown this weekend with my guys, and the energy that they're bringing to every session, they so want it because they're hungry, because they've been held back. And it's like an elastic band. You pull it back, pull it back. They've been released now. So I think everyone's going to be like excitable, and then that's going to be seen mostly in the crowd. But I think we're dealing with like elite level guys. So as much, we're not talking about novices. Like, these guys have had hundreds and hundreds of fights between them. Qasim and his camp are meticulously professional, and I think it's all to play for Liam, because if he pulls this off, it's like it's history making. Very few people ever in the history of kickboxing have upset the apple cart like Liam's trying to do on the 15th. So I think there's too much at stake for either camp to get it wrong, and I think they're so professional that what we're going to see is an insane amount of tension and excitement. But I think Gavin said it right. There's a lot of respect there. These guys are going to approach it with every bit of skill that they've got. And I think we're going to see world-class kickboxing. But the thing about it is the styles gel so well that I think every interaction is going to be fire anyway.
And I agree. I totally agree. And when you say they've both headlined the show, I remember when Liam come over to fight Dylan. It was such a competitive fight. And the one thing I try and be strict on is our shows are fair. I never know any judges who will come in. I never pick a judge because I don't want any part of any decision. I am just a promoter. So when he come over and fought Liam, when Liam come over and fought Dylan, and it was such a competitive fight, 9 times out of 10 that goes to the home fighter.
Yeah.
But the good thing with that and this, and in general, neither of them are the home fighter. Yes, I promote Qasim, but I don't train Qasim. I'm trying to pick Qasim the hardest fights possible to get these tests, because I want to see how. I know he's great, but I want to push those boundaries because I can.
Yeah. Well, as the promoter, your only interest is to create the best fights possible. Like win, lose or draw, it's not relevant to you. You just want to see the best fights. And I think that's the beauty, even though Liam is going to be in the lion's den because Kaz is going to bring a crowd. But the reality is, it is a completely level playing field. And like I said, both guys at the peak of the powers. It's going to be unreal on the night. It really is.
That's the only thing I feel a little bit sad about, is the fact that obviously Liam, because last time when Liam came over, the guys he brought with him as well, the atmosphere in there was incredible.
Oh, mate,
I know, but I just feel like it's just a shame still that that's going to be missing, because he's not going to be able to obviously bring those guys with him. So he's really up against it from that perspective.
Bear in mind, this is how bad these boys both want it. We agreed this fight with no crowds in a lockdown for no belts. For no belts. They just wanted to fight each other to be number one. And then because of the isolation, the fight didn't happen. But we agreed it and we planned it. And we was ready to go with no crowds. No one there. It's these boys just says, we just want to fight each other. Because I want to prove I'm number one. And that was with no crowds, no belts, no nothing. It's mad.
It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun. But there's also not...
Would you say, I heard a really good point that you made in that interview. Yes, they're number one at their weight category. But do you believe that they're pound for pound number one across the board? Whoever wins this.
Whoever wins this, yeah, I think so, yeah. I think Qasim is pound for pound the number one fighter on the planet, in my opinion. And anyone who beats him, if Liam can beat him on the night, then you've got to give that title to him. I mean, who is there in full contact now who's done what Kaz has done? Like, we're not just talking years, we're talking decades. He's been a dominant force. And you know what, as well, at this point, it's been a quiet time the last few years in full contact. So he's the last great name at the minute. Like, to me, he is a living legend. Like, there's no question in anyone's mind that he's a Hall of Fame fighter and people are going to be talking about Kaz in 20 years. No question at all. He's literally a living legend. It's one of the few times that you can go into an arena and know that you're watching a legend at work. And the kind of talent that comes along once in a generation, and you're lucky to see in one lifetime, you're lucky to be there live to see a fighter at Qasim's capabilities. And you've managed to pull an event together where he's got a legit, genuine challenge. This guy's beat everyone. Qasim's beat everyone. And the only person each of them haven't beat is each other. It's history. I said at the beginning, it's a historical fight, and it really truly is. You could count on one hand how many times promoters have been able to unify titles in full contact kickboxing. And when we're talking about two live opponents, these guys aren't just big fish in their hometown. These are guys who travelled on their opponent's turf and beat them up. Like, it's going to be a special night. It really is.
And that's got to show Qasim and Neil's confidence that he's prepared to put all three of his belts on the line. When Liam wanted to put his on the line, it was WK who wasn't allowing that belt to go on the line. So I want to put that straight, that Liam wanted his belt on the line. But when that wasn't able to be put on the line, I said to Kaz, do you really want to defend your title still? Do you know what I mean? And he said, yes, I do. I'm a proper world champion. And to be a proper world champion, I need to defend my belts, because if I lose to Liam, I wouldn't want the belts anyway. So
that's the thing. I made the comment, I think, on the feed, like, I might have said it after, but anyone claiming to be world champion at this way after this fight, if you're not making that claim after having beat the winner of the fight, you're not world champion. So it doesn't matter what initials it's got, it doesn't matter who you beat, where it was. Anyone who's anyone in the sport knows who the number one on the planet is, certainly that way after that night. And I think, like, it kind of diminishes any other title, really, because you put together the two best guys, and champions do defend, and Qasim's exactly right. That's what they should do, and that's why he is a legend of the sport, because of that mindset. But by the same token, it could have been for no belts, and not a single person in the sport would argue who the number one is.
Well, like I say, his last two fights now have been unifications. His last fight, he put his belt on the line against Dylan, and now he's putting all three on the line against Liam, and that's credit to him. And just talking about the belts, Mick, obviously you see people making organisations here and there now, and you can fully understand why people are doing what they do. But do you think that this now should become the normality, where if you've got a world champion, you defend it, and if you want to unify, you can unify? That's surely got to be the way to find out who's number one. Give fighters, kickboxers, the chance to do what boxing's doing. Anthony Joshua couldn't have been an undisputed world champion without being able to fight for all the belts.
Yeah, it's frustrating because, I mean, fighters just want to fight, and they want to be the best. There's something inside every fighter. They want to be the best that they can be. And in order to be the best, you've got to test yourself and prove yourself against the best. So there's never a lack of willingness from fighters to face each other. No. But usually politics gets in the way, or cost gets in the way. And there's silly reasons not to give. Let's be real. Like, the stars that burn the brightest burn the shortest. And when we're talking about a kickboxer's career, a pro kickboxer's career, they can't earn a living doing it. So you might get 5-6 years if you're lucky. Like, some fighters go on for like 10, 12 years. They are so, so rare. The kickboxing world and the organizations, the promoters, everyone should be bending over backwards to give these guys the recognition that they deserve when they're burning bright, when they're at the top. Because, like we said with Kaz, talents the likes of Kaz come around once in a generation. He's in a list of fighters over the last 50 years of kickboxing, or, well, no, what we had since the 70s, whatever it's been. So yeah, getting on 50 years of kickboxing since its inception. Fighters of that standard who've gone on and achieved as well, you could probably count them on one hand. And it's like, why would we deny that level of talent the opportunity to get full recognition? And to be honest, if I'm an org, I want to claim that champion as mine. I want to say we recognize that person as well because we appreciate their talent and their sacrifices and their achievements.
That's the conversations I've been having at the moment. Two fighters, two organisations, that if Qasim wins this or if Liam wins this, whoever wins it, that surely to God, if, like you said, if I was an organisation, I'd be chomping at the bit. Have my belt next, fight for my belt next, because if whoever wins this fight is a four-time world champion, you don't get no better than that. You don't get winning them all at once on the same show. You've been around it a lot longer than me, Mick, but I've never, ever, ever seen it or heard of all belts being on the line or 2 or 3 belts being on the line in one fight.
It's a nigh on impossible task to try and get everyone to be okay with it. And there's, different orgs have been around for different lengths of time, and people who are more established don't want to recognise less established ones. And it is a tough one, and it's a minefield, and I kind of see where they're coming from. But I think we all need to just get out of us own way and realise that the sport is what makes the titles. It's the athletes, it's the fighters. We need to celebrate them, we need to recognise them, and we need to not let petty differences get in the way. And right now in full contact, the fighters are thin on the ground. I mean, we've got these guys in who are absolutely elite, and they stack up against any talent in any discipline. But fighters of that caliber are getting less and less and less. So, like, we need to be getting out of his way to push our talents to the top and celebrate what's great about the sport, which is the fighters. And everyone can only win with that. Everyone's going to get kudos off of the back of that.
And last question on that, Mick. Do you think that if this was the norm, where fighters could have the chance to unify, you would see a kickboxer last a lot longer before transitioning to K1 or transitioning to professional boxing, because they've got a chance to fight for belts other than just the one that they've got?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fighters need goals. Like, fighters are alpha males. They want to conquer, they want to achieve, they want to go out there and create something of significance in their life that they can be proud of and excited about. It's that sense of purpose that gets them up every morning running, that gets them sparring, getting beat up, taking all the lumps and bumps that they get in fight camp. They need a reward for that. And the thing about anything, anything you experience, eventually it loses its taste. We need the next thing and the next thing, and we need to go more, bigger, better, more challenging. So unifying the belts is the logical step. That's why it exists in boxing. It's the same. People want to be a world champion. Not a lot of people can ever say the world champion. That means you're at a high level. But then how many champions can unify? That is the next level. And we all do this because we want to know that we're special and we're significant and that we stand out above us peers. So what better way of doing that by giving these guys something meaningful to pursue and continue to grow? And when we talk about the talent that Kaz has got and how good he is, he's that good because he's had a great mentor and support in Neil Kelly, who's engaged him in the sport and continuously created opportunities and pursuits that have got meaning for Kaz. So he's kept his interest, he's kept his motivation, he's kept his focus. But how hard has that been? And it shouldn't take someone as special as Neil. Every coach and every fighter should have those kind of opportunities. And hopefully this will pave the way now and start moving some of the barriers out the way. So these young fighters have got a career worth having, like a career, not a win, not a fight, not a world title, like a legit career where we're talking legacies.
I agree.
Well, I think if whether you're into kickboxing or not, or whether you're into fight game, if you watch that interview that we just did, or Mick just did rather, I think you'd be tuning in just because. I don't think you even need to be a great big kickboxing fan. I think the intensity was there. I think you saw in both of the fighters' eyes just how badly they both wanted it. And I don't care who you are and what discipline of martial arts you like, you're going to want to tune into that fight. If not just the interview, because the interview was great by itself.
100%. And Mick, we're looking forward to having you comment. You could be there to commentate on the evening, aren't you?
Yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait. Thanks for having me,
guys.
It's going to be unbelievable. But Mick, thank you once again for tonight, mate.
It's
been great
awesome
to catch up with you, and can't wait. 3 weeks, and I'll see you there.
See you soon, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you
Nice
very
one.
much. Cheers, mate.
Guys,
Bye bye.
guys, just be sure that you subscribe to the channels, because you'll get notifications when the interview goes live, and any other interviews and the fight night itself. All notifications will be there. So make sure you subscribe to the channels, and then it's party time in just a couple of weeks.
We have a party. We got the balloons out.
Right, we're off.